a political shockwave that shook the gun debate. Donald Trump has once again thrown the political world into a frenzy. This time by directly targeting one of the most controversial issues in American life, gun rights. In a speech that left gun owners cheering and gun control advocates furious, Trump announced that he is committed to establishing nationwide concealed carry reciprocity. To break it down simply, this would mean that if you have a concealed carry permit in your state, that same permit would automatically be valid everywhere in the United States. From the quiet towns of the Midwest to the busy streets of New York City, your legal right to carry would follow you wherever you go. This announcement isn't being treated as just another campaign slogan. For millions of Americans, it represents the possibility of finally tearing down decades of confusing, conflicting, and punishing laws that have trapped responsible citizens in legal quicksand. Supporters argue that this could become one of the most dramatic victories for the Second Amendment in modern history. And critics? They're calling it dangerous, reckless, and an attack on state authority. One thing is clear: Trump has thrown down a gauntlet in the battle over gun rights. The patchwork system that creates instant criminals. Right now, America's concealed carry laws resemble a jigsaw puzzle that no one can solve. A permit that makes you 100% legal in one state can transform you into a potential felon the very second you cross an invisible line on the map. Think about that. A person who has completed extensive training, passed multiple background checks, and paid their fees to comply with every requirement suddenly risks arrest simply by traveling. A family heading on vacation, a truck driver delivering goods, or a nurse relocating for a job could all be criminalized in an instant. Not because they broke the law intentionally, but because state laws refuse to recognize one another. It's like saying your driver's license or your marriage certificate doesn't count the second you step into a new state. Americans accept that licenses for driving or marriage are valid nationwide. But when it comes to the right of self-defense, somehow the rules get twisted. That inconsistency has created a legal minefield where even the most responsible, law-abiding citizens feel like they're walking on thin ice. Real people, real lives, upended by the law. This isn't a hypothetical scenario or an exaggeration. There are countless stories of ordinary citizens whose lives were turned upside down because of these inconsistencies. Take the case of Shania Allen, a hard-working single mother from Pennsylvania. She had her concealed carry permit. She was following the law in her home state, and she thought she was doing everything right. But when she crossed into New Jersey in 2013, she was pulled over for a traffic violation. The officer discovered her legally owned firearm, and just like that, her life became a nightmare. Instead of being treated as a responsible mom protecting herself and her children, she was arrested and charged. Prosecutors sought up to 10 years in prison for something that was perfectly legal just a few miles away. Then there's Sergeant Andrew Tomaresi, a decorated Marine veteran. In 2014, while driving near the Arizona border, he accidentally crossed into Mexico with his legally owned firearms still in his truck. He wasn't smuggling weapons. He wasn't committing a crime with intent. Yet he was locked in a Mexican prison for 7 months, enduring conditions that no American veteran should have to face. Stories like these are not rare accidents. They are symptoms of a broken system, and they highlight a disturbing truth. Law-abiding people who respect the rules often pay the highest price, while actual criminals face fewer obstacles. The long road toward reciprocity. The push for national reciprocity has been building for years. In fact, Congress has already debated it multiple times. The most notable effort came in 2017, when the House of Representatives passed H.R. 38, the Concealed Carry Reciprocity Act. This bill would have required every state to recognize concealed carry permits issued by other states, in effect, creating a nationwide standard. The bill passed the House but died in the Senate, never reaching the president's desk. Still, the momentum from that effort never truly went away. Advocacy groups, grassroots campaigns, and millions of individual gun owners have continued to push for reciprocity as a matter of fairness, consistency, and constitutional integrity. Trump's promise is essentially a revival of that fight, but this time with even stronger public support. His words resonate with many. Your Second Amendment does not end at the state line. That message doesn't just echo through rallies. It reflects the daily frustration of countless Americans who feel their fundamental rights have been reduced to privileges depending on which state they stand in. The Constitution, safety, and the myths of opposition. Critics of national reciprocity usually fall back on two main arguments: that it will cause chaos in terms of public safety, and that it undermines states' rights. But the evidence tells a very different story. First, permit holders are statistically among the most law-abiding groups in the nation. Studies by organizations like the Crime Prevention Research Center reveal that concealed carry license holders commit crimes at rates lower than even sworn police officers. In states like Texas and Florida, the numbers are clear. Responsible citizens with permits are not the ones driving crime. Second, history has already shown that armed citizens can and do prevent tragedies. In Sutherland Springs, Texas, in 2017, a law-abiding gun owner stepped in to stop a mass shooter before more lives were lost. In other places, ordinary Americans carrying legally have protected their families and even strangers from violence. These are not just what-ifs, they're documented realities. And as for the states' rights argument, the U.S. Constitution already requires states to recognize things like driver's licenses and marriage certificates from other states under the full faith and credit clause. Extending that same principle to concealed carry permits isn't radical. It's consistent, logical, and, many argue, long overdue. Criminals exploit loopholes while citizens get punished. Here's the bitter irony. While law-abiding Americans jump through hoops to remain compliant, criminals face no such barriers. Along the so-called Iron Pipeline, a corridor running along Interstate 95, firearms are trafficked illegally from states with looser regulations into heavily restricted ones like New York and New Jersey. Criminals exploit the fractured system with ease, while honest citizens risk arrest for simply protecting themselves legally. It's a double standard that makes no sense. Those who break the law move freely, while those who follow the law face punishment. Supporters of reciprocity argue that this hypocrisy cannot continue if the Second Amendment is to have any real meaning. A rallying cry for gun owners nationwide. For many, Trump's proposal is not just about convenience. It's about restoring the Second Amendment to its full intended power. The right to keep and bear arms was never supposed to evaporate at state borders, and yet, today, it does. National reciprocity would change that. It would allow families traveling cross-country to feel secure. It would allow workers moving to new states to carry without fear of criminal charges, and it would finally place the law-abiding citizen on equal footing with criminals who already disregard every restriction. Gun rights advocates see this as a moment of opportunity. They are urging Americans to take action now. Join organizations like the uscca, attend town halls, sign petitions, and contact representatives. Because while pro-gun voices rally for freedom, the anti-gun lobby is pushing just as hard in the opposite direction, working to chip away at rights wherever possible. The choice, they say, is clear. Either stand united now or risk watching the Second Amendment erode further in the years ahead. A defining moment in the gun rights battle. At its core, the debate over national reciprocity isn't just about carrying a firearm. It's about whether constitutional rights should truly apply equally to all Americans, regardless of where they live or travel. Trump's plan has lit a fire under that question, turning it into a defining battle of the Second Amendment for this generation. If reciprocity becomes law, it will send a powerful message to Washington, to state legislatures, and to the anti-gun lobby. The right of the people to keep and bear arms is not optional, not negotiable, and not subject to the whims of geography. It is, and always has been, a cornerstone of American liberty. For Trump's supporters, this is more than a promise. It's the chance to reclaim the Second Amendment in its truest form, ensuring that the right to self-defense travels with every citizen in every corner of the United States.